I woke in silence. Not the comforting kind that comes after battle, when the ringing in your ears fades and you realize you're still alive. No, this was deeper. A silence that felt wrong, suffocating. My first thought was that I had gone deaf. My second was that I was dead. Neither was true. When I opened my eyes, the world around me shimmered in fractured fragments, as though reality had been smashed into glass shards. I could see the ceiling above me, metallic and cold, but it was split and multiplied, like dozens of overlapping images, some darker, some lighter, none of them aligning properly. My vision lurched, and I gagged. The smell hit me next, sterile air, tinged with copper, and beneath it, rot. I tried to move. My arms didn't respond at first. My body felt like it had been pulled apart and stitched back together by hands that didn't understand human anatomy. My skin burned, my bones ached, and there was something alien humming under my flesh, vibrating like a hidden engine. That was when the voices started. At first, just whispers, faint like echoes in a long hallway. Then louder, a man's voice urgent, a woman's pleading, another inhuman, speaking words that clawed at the inside of my skull. Wake, break, burn. I screamed. At least, I think I did. My throat tore with the effort, but the sound felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. The last thing I remembered was fire, the battlefield, alien ships blotting out the sky, their weapons turning steel and flesh into ash. My unit scattered, cut down. I'd been hit. Something seared into my chest, a flash of agony, and then nothing. But this place was not a battlefield. It was a prison. The walls were smooth, gray, and wet-looking, pulsing faintly like living tissue. Tubes ran from my arms and chest into walls, pumping fluids that glowed faintly blue. I tried to rip them out, but they burrowed deeper when I touched them, writhing like snakes. That was when I realized I was not a prisoner. I was an experiment. The voices in my head grew louder, merging into a chorus. Human words tangled with alien ones, sharp syllables that cut like knives. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. But then, I began to understand them. The aliens hadn't just patched me back together. They had tampered with me. I don't know how long I lay there, drifting in and out of consciousness. Time was broken, slipping through my fingers like sand. Sometimes, I dreamed of Earth, my home, my family, the laughter of a child I would never see again. Other times, I saw through alien eyes. I watched their ships carve through the stars. I felt the hum of their hives. Vast cities grown from living matter. I tasted their hatred for humanity. And always, the wrath burned inside me. That was the one constant. They thought they had broken me. They thought they had shattered my mind and left me helpless. But in the cracks of my sanity, something else took root. Something sharp. Something furious. Wrath. The more they whispered, the stronger it grew. Their words were chains, but chains could be used as weapons. Their visions were torment, but torment could be fuel. I don't know what finally triggered it. Maybe they slipped, pushed too far. Maybe my body rejected the alien filth they'd sewn into me. Or maybe the human soul isn't as fragile as they believed. One moment I was bound. The next, I tore free. The tubes ripped from my flesh in sprays of glowing fluid. The walls shrieked as though in pain when I struck them, my hands tearing into their living tissue. Something inside me surged, a violent energy not entirely my own. My vision cleared, then fractured again, showing me every angle of the room at once. Weak points glowed like veins of fire through the walls. I followed the fire. The first alien that came to stop me looked like a nightmare sculpted from bone and shadow. Its limbs bent wrong. Its skin glistened like wet stone. It screeched when it saw me free. I didn't hear the screech. I heard words in my head, contained the subject. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because something inside me had snapped. My voice echoed too loud, too broken. They rushed me. I killed them with my hands. I don't remember how. One moment they were whole, the next they were torn apart. My arms were coated in black ichor that steamed against my skin. The voices cheered and screamed all at once. I stumbled through corridors that pulsed like veins, following the glowing cracks only I could see. Every alien that crossed my path died. Some quickly, some slowly. My wrath chose how. At last, I found an exit. A hatch peeled open, spilling me onto scorched dirt. The sky above was red with smoke. Black ships hung in the clouds like vultures. Earth, my earth. I fell to my knees. I was free, but not whole. My mind was broken, splintered into voices and visions. My body was something else now, part human, part whatever they had tried to make me. But my wrath was intact. No, more than intact. It was honed, and it would not rest, because they had taken everything from me. My unit, my home, my life, even my sanity. And I would take it all back, one alien corpse at a time. The first thing I noticed was the sky. It wasn't the blue I remembered. It was bruised, swollen with smoke, streaked in ash and fire. The alien ships hung above like carrion birds, their hulls jagged, black, and unnatural. They didn't move much. They didn't have to. The world beneath them was already broken. I staggered forward, each step heavy, my muscles screaming as though they had been rewired with rusted wire. The ground was scorched and cracked, littered with ruins that had once been homes, cars, streets. Human lives burned away. The air was thick with ash, and every breath tasted of death. I should have died here, I thought. When the fire fell, when the ships came, when the skies split open, I should have died with the rest. But I hadn't. Instead, I had been taken, changed, broken, and now I was walking the skeleton of my world, hearing voices that weren't mine whispering inside my skull. South, shelter, alive. The words cut through me like shards of glass. At first, I thought it was another hallucination. Then I realized the voices weren't speaking at random. They were showing me something. I moved. The ruins stretched endlessly. Twisted steel and collapsed concrete. The aftermath of orbital fire and alien occupation. But I was not alone. Here and there I saw movement. Shapes darting through shadows, watching me with wide, fearful eyes. Survivors. Humans. They didn't come near me. And why would they? I must have looked like a monster. My skin was pale, scarred with glowing veins where the alien fluids had burned into me. My eyes reflected too much light. My movements were wrong, jerky, too fast at times, too slow at others. I was human, but not, and they could sense it. I pressed on, following the whispers in my head. They guided me to what had once been a subway entrance, its concrete mouth cracked and half buried under rubble. The voices hissed when I hesitated. Go down. So I did. The tunnels were dark, reeking of damp and rust. My footsteps echoed. I could hear faint sounds ahead, murmurs, the clatter of tools, the shuffle of bodies. A light flared in the darkness, blinding me for a moment. A human face appeared behind it, gaunt and sharp, eyes narrowed. Stop, the man barked. His voice was hoarse, cracked from smoke and hunger. Hands where I could see them. I raised my hands slowly. They were still stained with black alien ichor, dried and flaking. More figures emerged from the shadows. Men and women, thin, ragged, armed with scavenged weapons, shotguns, pistols, sharpened pipes. Survivors. Resistance. One of them stepped closer, a woman with short-cropped hair and eyes that glowed with suspicion. She studied me for a long moment. You're not one of them, she said, almost to herself. Then louder, who are you? I opened my mouth to speak, but for a moment, nothing came. Words tangled in my throat, strangled by the voices whispering their own answers. Subject, weapon, broken. I forced them down. I was a soldier. I managed. My voice was rough, strange in my own ears. They took me, changed me, But I escaped. Murmurs rippled through the group. Some of them looked afraid, others intrigued. The woman's eyes narrowed further. Change you how? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The glow beneath my skin, the fractures of my gaze, the way my presence made them all uneasy. It was enough. She studied me a moment longer, then lowered her weapon slightly. Name? I hesitated. My real name felt distant, almost meaningless now, buried under layers of pain and voices. Still I gave it. Speaking out loud felt like dragging it from a grave. All right, soldier, she said finally. You can come in. But if you try anything, her eyes hardened. You won't walk back out. They led me deeper into the tunnels. The station had been turned into a refuge. Dozens of survivors huddled in the shadows. Families, scavengers, fighters. Children too thin, staring with hollow eyes. The smell of smoke and unwashed bodies clung to the air. It was a graveyard trying to pretend it was a village. And they were afraid of me. I could feel their stares, hear their whispers. Monster, freak, weapon. They weren't wrong. The woman introduced herself as Captain Rena, former military like me. She explained that this was one of many hidden cells scattered across the ruins. Small fires of resistance against the alien occupation. They don't see us as a threat, she said bitterly. Not anymore. Their ships orbit, their machines patrol, and we scrape what's left. But we hit them when we can. Bleed them. Remind them we're not finished. Her words sparked something inside me. Not hope. Something sharper. Something hungrier. Wrath. They'll come for you, I said. My voice echoed too loudly in the tunnel. Heads turned. They always do. They don't leave survivors. Her eyes flickered. Then we die fighting. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the corner of the station, listening to the whispers in my head. They showed me visions, alien patrols, their routes, their strategies, patterns in the chaos, weak points. I saw their war not as soldiers did, but as they did, from above, from the hive, and I saw how to hurt them. At dawn, I told Rena. I laid out their patrol paths, their blind spots, where they would be most vulnerable. She stared at me as though I were mad. Where did you get this intel? She demanded. I tapped my temple. They left me broken. But in the cracks, I see them. Her expression darkened. You expect me to trust the word of a half-mad soldier who claims to see inside their heads? No, I said simply. But if you want to kill them, you'll listen. She did. That evening, a strike team moved out. I went with them. We lay in the ruins, hidden, waiting, just as the voices had promised. An alien patrol passed by. 3 of their biomechanical beasts, towering and insect-like, accompanied by handlers in armored exoshells. The resistance fighters tensed. Doubt rippled through them. Then the patrol stepped into the kill zone. Explosions tore through the street. Gunfire erupted. The aliens shrieked, taken by surprise. And I became wrath. I moved before I thought, before I even chose. My body acted on its own, tearing into the aliens with strength I should not have had. Their armor cracked under my hands. Their black blood sprayed the ground. I laughed as they died, the sound broken and terrible. When it was over, silence fell. The street was littered with alien corpses. The resistance fighters stared at me, wide-eyed, some with awe, some with fear. Captain Rena lowered her rifle slowly. "What are you?" she whispered. I wiped black ichor from my face, smiling through the fractured shards of my mind. "Broken," I said, "but not finished." The whispers never left me. Even in the quiet after battle, when the fires died and the blood cooled, they slithered in the dark corners of my mind. Sometimes they were faint, like the rustle of wind through dead leaves. Other times they rose to scream, loud enough to drown out thought. And yet, I was beginning to understand them. They weren't random. They weren't madness. They were maps, codes, truths. The day after the ambush, I sat in the subway station while the resistance counted their spoils, alien weapons scavenged, supplies taken, bodies burned. Children cheered softly for bread rations. Adults whispered, still glancing my way with a mixture of awe and dread. I ignored them. My attention was turned inward, listening to the chorus clawing at my skull. East, pulse line, breach. Images bled into my vision. A convoy of alien harvesters moving through the ruins. A weak escort, an opportunity. I muttered the words aloud before I could stop myself. Captain Rena turned sharply. She had been overseeing weapon repairs, her hand steady despite the exhaustion in her face. "What did you say?" I looked up, my eyes burning. "They're moving a convoy east of here. Big, vulnerable. If you hit them now, you'll cripple them." She studied me for a long moment, jaw tight. "And how the hell would you know that?" I tapped my head. "They left pieces of themselves in me. They wanted to break me. But I see them instead. Their patterns. Their moves. I hear their plans like echoes in the walls." Her face darkened. "That sounds like madness." "Maybe it is," I said. I let my voice rise, sharp and dangerous. But madness doesn't predict where their patrol would be. Madness didn't help you in last night. The silence that followed was heavier than any weapon. Survivors stared. Fighters exchanged looks. Rena's lips pressed into a thin line. Finally, she turned away. "We'll scout it. If you're wrong, you're done here." But I wasn't wrong. Hours later, scouts returned breathless and wide-eyed. "He's right," one gasped. "Convoys moving just like he said. Massive load. Barely protected." The station erupted into murmurs, some in awe, some in fear. Rena's eyes found mine again, full of questions she didn't voice. That night, another raid was launched, and again my whispers guided them. The convoy burned. As days turned into weeks, I became something more than just a soldier in their eyes. I was a weapon, a prophet. Some whispered that I was cursed, a human poisoned by alien filth. Others said I was chosen, a ghost who walked between worlds. Both were true. I began to notice changes in myself. My skin healed too quickly. My reflexes sharpened beyond human. My mind fractured further. I would black out, only to wake with blood on my hands and enemies torn apart around me. But worse were the moments when I lost track of which voice was mine. During one raid, we ambushed an alien patrol near the remains of a skyscraper. Gunfire rattled through broken steel. I moved ahead of the others, too fast, too eager. The whispers screamed instructions. Left, strike, rip. I obeyed without thinking. My body was a blur, tearing through alien armor with my bare hands. Their ichor sprayed my face, burning like acid, but I laughed through the pain. When the last one fell, I stood panting in the silence. My hands were slick, my breath ragged. The fighters stared at me, not with admiration, with fear. One of them, a young man named Tarek, whispered too loud. "He's not human anymore." I turned my gaze on him, and he flinched. For a moment, I wanted to prove him right, to show him how sharp my wrath had become, to silence his doubt with blood. The voices urged me. "Do it. Weakness dies. Kill him." But I didn't. I forced myself to step back, fists trembling. Later, Rena cornered me. Her eyes were sharp, her voice low. "You're scaring them." "Good," I said. "No. Fear cuts both ways. They'll follow you into hell if they trust you. But if they fear you too much," she shook her head, "they'll turn on you." I met her stare, my voice cold. If they turn on me, they'll regret it. Her jaw clenched. Maybe, but don't mistake survival for loyalty. These people are desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. She was right. I knew it, but it didn't matter. Trust or fear both led to obedience. I didn't need friends. I needed weapons. One night, while the station slept, I sat alone in the tunnels. The whispers were louder than ever, a storm inside my skull. I pressed my hands to my head, teeth grinding. Shut up, I snarled, but they didn't. They never did. Instead, they showed me something new. Not just patrols, not just movements, but memories. I saw the aliens' war councils, their ships moving between stars, their plans for Earth, harvesting, consuming, enslaving. And I saw myself, or rather, what they wanted me to become, a weapon of their making, a bridge between their hive mind and humanity, a spy in human skin. They had failed to control me, but their mark was still inside me, festering. I laughed bitterly. You wanted a slave? I whispered. Instead, you made your own executioner. The voices shuddered as if in pain. For the first time, I realized they weren't invincible. The next morning, I told Rena what I had seen. Not all of it, just enough. That the aliens had bigger plans. That Earth wasn't the end game. That we had to move faster, hit harder. She studied me, eyes narrowed, weighing every word. Why should I believe you? Because every time you listened to me, I said quietly, we lived. Every time we won. Her silence was answer enough. The raids grew bolder. The whispers guided us to caches, weak points, alien outposts waiting to be bled. Each victory fed the resistance hope. Each battle fed my wrath. But with every strike, I felt myself slipping further. I wasn't just fighting them. I was becoming something like them. And part of me didn't care. Because as long as my wrath burned, humanity still had a chance. It was supposed to be a raid. Quick. Surgical. In and out before the aliens could regroup. That's what Captain Rena said when she laid the maps on the cracked concrete floor. That's what the fighters told themselves as they sharpened blades and loaded scavenge rifles. But I knew better. The voices had been screaming at me for days, louder than ever, clawing through the walls of my mind. They showed me images, flashes of fire, streets drowned in black ichor human screams. Not a raid, a reckoning. The target was an alien garrison squatting in the husk of an old financial district. Their towers of living bone and steel rose out of shattered skyscrapers like cancer. The resistance wanted supplies, weapons, anything we could steal before the hive noticed. I wanted something else. Blood. We struck at dusk. The sky burned red with smoke as we crawled through the ruins, silent as shadows. My veins throbbed with the rhythm of the whispers, guiding my steps, pulling me closer to the slaughter. The first guard never saw me coming. My hand slid into his armored chest as though the plates were paper. I tore free a mass of writhing organs, and his scream gurgled into silence. The resistance fighters stared in horror, but they didn't stop me. They followed. The compound erupted into chaos. Gunfire cracked. Explosions bloomed. Aliens screeched, their insecto machines skittering from the shadows. The air filled with smoke, ichor, and a metallic stench of blood. And I lost myself. I tore through them with a fury that wasn't entirely mine. My body moved too fast, too strong. My hands crushed armor, ripped limbs, shattered skulls. Every strike fed the fire inside me. Every kill drowned out the voices with a single, unbroken roar of wrath. I was no longer fighting. I was feeding. The aliens tried to swarm me, but they couldn't. Their blades broke against my skin. Their weapons fizzled under my touch. I felt their hive mind falter, their whispers shrieking in fear. And the resistance fighters followed in my wake, emboldened by the carnage. Where I carved a path, they poured through. Where I fell, they rose. We became a tide, unstoppable, merciless. By the time the smoke cleared, the garrison was nothing but ruin. Alien corpses littered the streets. Their towers of bone collapsed into heaps of steaming rot. The resistance cheered. I did not, because victory always demands a price. We lost dozens in the fight. Good fighters, scavengers, even children who had picked up weapons too big for their hands. Their bodies lay broken among the alien dead, their blood mingling with ichor. And the survivors, they looked at me differently now, not with awe, not with fear, with something worse. Worship. Whispers rippled through survivors as they gathered around me. Words like savior, prophet, monster. Captain Rena pushed through the crowd, her face hard, her rifle still smoking. She stopped in front of me, staring at the ichor dripping from my hands. "What the hell are you becoming?" she asked softly. I met her eyes, and for a moment, the voices inside me stilled. I almost told her the truth, that I was becoming exactly what the aliens had wanted. A weapon, a bridge, a thing made for killing. But instead I said what I need to be. Her jaw clenched. She looked like she wanted to argue, to scream, to put a bullet in my skull and be done with it. But she didn't. She turned away because she knew the truth. They needed me that night. As the resistance scavenged supplies and buried their dead, I sat alone in the ruins. My hands shook, not from fear, but from hunger, a hunger that no food could satisfy. The whispers hissed in my ears, a chorus of alien and human voices blending into something sharp. More, blood, wrath. I pressed my palms into the dirt, grinding my teeth. You use me. You try to break me. But I'm still here. I'm still human. The voices laughed. Cold, hollow. Are you? I had no answer. The next morning, the cost of victory revealed itself. Scouts reported alien retaliation. Patrols doubled. Ships prowled the skies with hungry eyes. The garrison had not fallen quietly. We had awoken the hive. Some of the fighters blamed me. They said my wrath drew too much attention, that I had gone too far. Others defended me, saying without me they'd all be dead already. The division festered like a wound, and Rena stood at the center, torn between them. I watched her from the shadows, her hands clenched, her face pale with exhaustion. She wanted to lead, but the people weren't looking at her anymore. They were looking at me, and I didn't know if I hated it or craved it. That night, a child approached me, a boy no older than 10, his clothes ragged, his face streaked with soot. He stared at me with wide eyes, clutching a rusted knife too big for his hand. "Is it true," he whispered, "that you can't die?" I looked at him, and for once, the voices went silent. My throat felt tight. "I can die," I said softly, "but not before them." He nodded, eyes shining, as if I had just promised him the stars. Then he ran back to his family. I sat there for a long time, trembling, because in his eyes, I wasn't a soldier. I wasn't a man. I was something else. And I didn't know if that was salvation or damnation. The whispers came again, harsher, angrier. They showed me visions of fire spreading across the city, of more battles, more blood. They showed me a path drenched in wrath, a road I couldn't turn from. And in those visions, I saw the truth. Every victory I gave him would cost us more lives. Every triumph would bleed us dry. That was the blood price. And I was the one who would make them pay it. Trust is a fragile thing. You can win a battle, bleed beside someone, and still, one whisper, one crack in the wall, and it all comes crashing down. I should have seen it sooner. The way the fighters looked at me after the garrison fell. The way parents pulled their children close when I passed. Even Rena's eyes, sharp and weary, lingering too long on the glow under my skin. They cheer my victories. But victory had its price, and I had become the debt collector, The whispers had been restless ever since. No longer just showing me the aliens, their patrols, their weak points, but showing me us, the humans. I saw their doubts like cracks in glass, heard their whispers even when they thought they spoke in secret. Fear spreads fast in the dark. One night, I heard it clearly. "He's not one of us," Tarek said, his voice carried through the tunnels, sharp with anger. "He's one of them. They turned him, and we're too blind to see it. Every time we follow him, more of us die. He's leading us into their traps." Another voice answered, low and uncertain. "But we win, don't we? We'd be ashes without him." Tarek spat. "At what cost? Look around you. We bury more every raid. He's bleeding us dry, and when they're done with us, what then? Maybe he finishes the job for them." The voices in my head hissed with laughter. Betrayal. Weakness. Cut him down. I wanted to. Instead, I turned away and let the whispers gnaw at me until sleep came like a blade. The next raid went wrong. It wasn't supposed to. The voices had shown me the patrol route clear as fire across the sky. But when we struck, the aliens were waiting. Ambush. Gunfire tore through the resistance. Screams echoed in the ruins. We fought like wolves in a trap, tearing at anything that moved. I killed them. Oh, I killed so many, but not enough. Too many of us fell. By the time we dragged the wounded back to the tunnels, the air reeked of blood and failure, and the whispers inside me screamed, not in rage, in delight. "They see you now. They see what you are." Tarek didn't wait long. He stormed into the station, blood on his clothes, fury in his eyes. "This is it. I'm done following him to the slaughter," he shouted. His voice echoed off the walls, drawing the eyes of every survivor. Rena stepped forward, but he shoved past her. He pointed at me, finger trembling with rage. "He led us into that ambush. Don't you see?" He knew. He knew, and he wanted it. Because he's not fighting for us, he's fighting for them. Murmurs spread to the crowd like wildfire. Faces turned toward me, some angry, some afraid. I stood, slowly, my body aching, ichor still dripping from my hands. "You think I wanted that?" I said, my voice low, dangerous. "You think I wanted to see your friends bleed out in the dirt?" Tarek's laugh was harsh. "You enjoy it. I've seen the way you fight, the way you smile when you tear them apart. Don't tell me you don't." The whispers urged me again. End him. Tear his throat. Show them what you are. And for a moment, I almost did. I stepped forward, and the crowd recoiled as if I were a beast loose from a cage. My chest burned, my vision fractured. I could see every weak point in Tarek's body, every bone I could snap, every vein I could open. My fists clenched. My wrath surged. Then Rena's voice cut through it. "Enough!" Her command cracked the air like a whip. She planted herself between us, her eyes burning. "You think he's a traitor?" she snapped at Tarek. "Then show me proof. Otherwise, shut your damn mouth before you tear this cell apart yourself." Tarek's jaw worked, but no words came. He glared at me, hatred burning bright, then stormed off into the tunnels. The crowd scattered, uneasy, the whispers of doubt lingering in the air long after their footsteps faded. Rena turned to me. "You need to control yourself," she said quietly. "If you lose it, if you give them reason to believe him." She trailed off. "They'll kill me." I finished. Her silence was answer enough. That night, I dreamed of fire again. Not the alien kind. Human fire. Torches in the dark, raised against me. Faces twisted with fear and rage. And in the dream, I killed them all. When I woke, my hands were bloody. I stared at them in horror until I realized it wasn't mine. It was alien blood, black and smoking. My body had moved without me again. Another patrol had wandered too close, and I had slaughtered them in my sleep. The voices coiled in my skull, smug and satisfied. "See what you are?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I laughed. a broken sound, because maybe they were right. Maybe I was nothing more than a monster wearing human skin. But even monsters could burn the world down. The next day, Rena pulled me aside. Her face was drawn, eyes shadowed. "They don't trust you anymore," she admitted. "Some want you gone. Some want you dead. I've kept them in line, but—" She trailed off. "But you're not sure how long you can," I said. Her silence was enough. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Then let them fear me. Fear is stronger than trust." Her eyes narrowed. "And what happens when fear turns to hate? When the only thing holding the cell together is the thought of putting a bullet in your skull?" I didn't answer, because deep down I knew the truth. The resistance wasn't just fighting the aliens anymore. They were fighting me. And one day soon, one side would break. That night, the voices showed me something new. Not just battles. Not just blood. They showed me betrayal. I saw humans in tunnels, whispering in the dark, weapons hidden under coats. I saw their eyes, filled with fear. I saw myself caught between their blades. And I smiled, because if they thought betrayal would be my end, they had forgotten one thing. My mind was broken, but my wrath was not. The voices changed. For weeks they had been a storm, chaos, whispers of movement, alien patrols, blood and fire. But now they were focused, sharp. They pulled at me like a current in a river, dragging me towards something hidden, something old, something the aliens didn't want me or anyone to see. The Forgotten Gate. I didn't know what it was. Not at first, only that the voices repeated it over and over until the words carved themselves into my skull. Gate, gate, gate. It started with a map. I was sitting alone in the subway station, scratching lines into the dirt with a broken blade. At first, I thought I was just passing time, burning off restless energy. But when I finished, I realized it wasn't random. It was a map of the city. And at the center, marked with a crude circle, was a place I hadn't seen in years. The museum. I stared at it, my chest tight. Before the war, it had been a relic of old human history. Fossils, artifacts, the bones of creatures long extinct. Now, it was nothing but rubble under alien shadow. Or so I thought. The whispers disagreed. They showed me visions of the museum's ruins, but beneath them, something vast, something buried. A gate, humming with alien energy, hidden deep below the earth. And suddenly I understood. The aliens hadn't come here just to conquer. They hadn't come just to harvest. They had come for what lay buried under our feet. When I told Rena, she looked at me like I was mad. "A gate?" she repeated, her tone flat. "Under the museum?" I nodded. "That's why they're here. Earth isn't just another planet to burn. It's a vault, a lock, and they've been digging for the key." Her jaw tightened. "And you know this how?" "The same way I knew about the convoy, about the patrols, the whispers." I tapped my temple. "I see what they don't want me to see." She exhaled sharply, rubbing her temples. "Do you realize how insane this sounds?" "Yes." Her eyes searched mine, as if looking for any scrap of sanity left. She must not have found much, because her shoulders slumped. But in the end, she said, "Show me." We moved at night. A small team, Rena, a handful of fighters, and me, we crept through ruins lit by alien patrol lights, dodging machines that clicked and skittered across broken streets. The museum loomed ahead, a jagged skeleton of stone and steel. Its dome was shattered, its pillars cracked, its banners torn. But the whispers were loud here, almost deafening. Down, below, gate. We found the entrance buried beneath rubble, half collapsed. With effort, we forced our way through, slipping into the blackness below. The air was stale, heavy with dust and something older. We descended through broken stairwells, across collapsed floors, deeper and deeper into the earth. The further we went, the stronger the whispers became. My veins burned, my vision fractured, my breath quickened. And then we found it. It wasn't human. It couldn't be. The chamber was vast, carved from stone but fused with alien metal. At its center stood the gate, a towering arch of black crystal, humming with a light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Strange symbols glowed across its surface, shifting, writhing as though alive. Rena froze, her face pale. "God!" she whispered. The others murmured prayers, curses, disbelief. But I knew. I had seen it in the visions. "This isn't theirs," I said softly. "It's older. Older than Earth. Older than humanity. They didn't build it. They found it." Rena turned to me sharply. "What does it do?" I shook my head. "I don't know, but they do. And they want to open." The whispers surged, filling my skull with images. Stars bending, worlds collapsing, something vast and terrible pushing through the gate. "They're not just invaders," I said, my voice trembling. "They're servants. Servants of something worse. Something waiting on the other side." The others recoiled in fear. Rena's face hardened. "If what you're saying is true, then this changes everything. This war, it isn't just about Earth. It's about keeping whatever this is locked away." Her eyes met mine. "And you're the only one who knows." I wanted to argue, to tell her I wasn't the only one, that the whispers weren't mine alone, that they were around the world, bleeding into me. But I stayed silent, because deep down I knew she was right. We didn't have long. As we studied the gate, the walls shuddered. A low hum filled the chamber, rising into a scream. Lights flickered across the arch, flaring brighter. And then they came. Dozens of aliens poured into the chamber, their shrieks echoing. Their blades gleamed, their armor glistened, their machines scuttled across the walls. The resistance panicked. Gunfire roared. Screams filled the chamber. And me, I lost myself again. I threw myself into the tide, my body a blur of blood and ichor. My wrath howled, tearing through flesh and steel alike. The whispers guided every strike, every kill, turning the battle into a dance of slaughter. But there were too many. One by one, the resistance fell. Fighters screamed as blades tore through them, their blood pooling on the stone floor. Rena fought like a demon, her rifle spitting fire, her knife flashing. But she was only human. I reached her just as an alien blade cut across her side, dropping her to her knees. I tore the creature apart with my bare hands, ichor spraying my face. Rena gasped, clutching her wound. "Close it," she hissed. "Whatever it is, close it." I looked at the gate. Its light pulsed faster now, its hum rising into a roar. I could feel something pressing against it from the other side. Something vast. Something hungry. And the voices screamed in unison. "Open it." For the first time, I felt fear, not for myself, but for humanity, for all of us. Because this war wasn't about Earth at all. It was about keeping the gates shut. We barely escaped. I carried Rena out, her blood hot against my skin. Only a handful of fighters survived, stumbling through the ruins with hollow eyes. Behind us, the gate pulsed in the dark, waiting. The whispers haven't stopped since. They claw at me, urging me to open it, to let what waits beyond step through. And part of me wonders, am I fighting them, or am I just stalling the inevitable? Either way, one truth burned clear. The aliens hadn't broken me for conquest. They had broken me to be a key, and they would regret it. I don't dream anymore. When I close my eyes, I see the gate, always the gate, pulsing in the dark like the heart of some dead god, waiting to be reborn. The whispers never stop. They promise me peace if I just give in, if I open it, if I let them through. But I know what waits on the other side. I've seen the shadows pressing against the crystal, clawing, writhing. I've heard their laughter in my skull. So I don't sleep. I sharpen my knives instead. Rena survived. Barely. The medics patched her wound, but she'll never fight again. She hates it, hates being trapped on the sidelines. but she's alive. Sometimes I catch her looking at me when she thinks I don't notice, not like before. Not with fear, though that's still there too. No, she looks at me the way a soldier looks at a weapon. Dangerous. Necessary. She knows I'm not whole anymore, that my mind is cracked, spilling out pieces of something not meant for human hands. But she also knows I'm the only one who can end this. The plan was madness, not resistance skirmishes, not sabotage, not survival. No, this time we would strike at the heart. The aliens had built a fortress around the gate, sealing it behind layers of steel and fire. Thousands of their soldiers guarded it. Machines patrolling like clockwork, ships hovering above. They thought it was safe, untouchable, but they hadn't accounted for me. The voices showed me the cracks, the blind spots, the rhythm of their patrols, the frequency of their scanners. To anyone else, it was chaos, noise. To me, it was a pattern, an invitation. Are you sure about this? Rena asked as I strapped on my battered armor. No. She almost smiled. At least you're honest. I leaned close, lowering my voice. If I don't come back, you know what to do. Her jaw clenched. Destroy the gate. I nodded, and then I left. The night was silent as I moved through the ruins, my footsteps swallowed by ash. The fortress loomed ahead, a mountain of steel and light. Towers rose like jagged teeth, searchlights cutting through the dark. The air hummed with the low thrum of alien engines. To anyone else, it would have been impossible. Suicide. To me, it was inevitable. The whispers guided me, pulling me through shadows, past patrols, under the blind eye of scanners. I slipped through the cracks in their world, unseen, unheard, until I wasn't. A soldier spotted me, shrieking in its alien tongue. I cut its throat before it could finish. The alarm screamed anyway. The fortress erupted into chaos. Sirens wailed, lights blazed, soldiers poured into the halls. And I let the wrath consume me. I tore through them like a storm, blades flashing, bullets tearing, fists breaking bone. Their weapons scorched my armor. Their blades cut my flesh. But I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. The whispers became a roar, guiding every strike, every kill. The fortress became a slaughterhouse. I wasn't fighting to survive. I was fighting to end it. At last, I reached the chamber. The gate loomed before me, brighter than ever. Its crystal surface rippled, shadows writhing beneath. The air trembled, thick with power. Dozens of aliens stood guard, their weapons raised. Behind them, machines crawled across the walls, their eyes glowing red. They were waiting for me. Good. I roared and charged. The battle was carnage. Blades clashed. Gunfire thundered. Ichor sprayed across the stone floor. I felt bones snap under my fists, metal crumple beneath my strikes. Every wound I took only fed the fire. Every drop of blood spilled only sharpened the wrath, until I was the only one left standing, bleeding, broken, unstoppable. The gate pulsed brighter, louder. I could feel it pressing against my skull, tearing at the cracks in my mind. Open it. I staggered closer, my vision swimming. My hands trembled. For a moment, I almost obeyed. What would it matter? Let it through. Let the universe burn. But then I remembered Rena's face. The fighters who had died. The humans still hiding in the ashes, clinging to hope. I remembered why I fought. Not for sanity. Not for peace. For wrath. Because wrath was the only thing I had left to give. I planted the charges at the base of the gate, my hands steady despite the shaking in my chest. The timer blinked red. The whisper screamed, clawing at my skull, promising me eternity, power, release. I ignored them. As the countdown ticked, I stood before the gate, staring into its depths. Shadows writhed within, pressing against the crystal, furious, desperate. You wanted me to be your key. I whispered. You should have known better. The timer hit 0. The explosion was blinding. Fire roared through the chamber, stone and steel collapsing, the gates shattering in a storm of crystal shards. The ground shook, the air split, the fortress crumbled. I was thrown into the fire, my body breaking, my vision fading. The last thing I saw was the gate imploding, its light screaming as it was torn apart. The shadows writhed, howled, and vanished into nothing. And for the first time since the whispers began, silence. I don't know if I died that day. Maybe I did. Maybe this is just another hallucination, another fracture in my broken mind. But I know the gate is gone. The aliens are broken, their purpose shattered. Without the gate, they are nothing. And humanity has a chance. They'll tell stories about me. They'll call me a hero or a monster, or maybe both. But the truth is simpler. My mind was broken. My soul was lost. But my wrath saved them all.